All right. Welcome. Sports Injury Central Pro Football Doc podcast. Sorry, a few minutes late from the live format. Yes, it was me getting home and, gotta say hi to the kids. And
You have the
after a,
best excuse ever, Doc. You're a doctor.
after a long weekend, there's always more things going on in the doctor world. It's like there's the things still happen. You can argue more injuries happen when there's a long weekend.
Okay.
Things still happen, and anything that gets pushed off, gets pushed off to the next available day. It's kind of like you kind of don't want to go to the mechanic for your car or the tire store on Monday if you can avoid it, right? Because especially after a long weekend or something, there's a buildup of stuff that needs to get taken care of on Mondays. But enough of that. We're here. Hope everyone had a good July 4th holidays.
I had a question
what'd you do?
real quick.
Yeah, good.
I remember a couple years ago, I was at your Thanksgiving dinner table, and you're always talking about the little things, people coming in with those Thanksgiving injuries, right? Have you ever had something in your office, I guess HIPAA, you can't name names, but like a 4th of July injury or maybe nothing like
a JPP? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah. Not to name names, yeah. Yes.
No, I have. Look, have there been fireworks injuries that we've seen? Yes, but usually on what we call the secondary market, right? Fireworks injuries that happen on July 4th go to the ER, right?
Okay.
And I don't work in the emergency room, but have seen things on the back end, so to speak, for reconstruction and otherwise. Which reminds me, actually, this has been a long time since Jason Pierre-Paul blew off part of his hand, and that was actually I don't know, probably at least 10 years, right? I remember, well, that year there was actually 2 people who injured their hands.
Yes, there was.
And what we were saying actually proved correct, because JPP is so good, being a little less effective, he's still in the league. Whereas the DB for Tampa that had something happen, who's just the guy, is out of the league, right? JPP still wants to play, I guess.
He was on like the practice squad a little bit last year for Miami and a couple other teams, and then Tampa Bay too. They just never used him. But I mean, like you said, he's there. He hasn't fully retired yet. And it was exactly 10 years ago, Doc. July 4th, 2000.
Oh, there you go. Exactly 10-year anniversary.
Yes.
I got a lot of grief. I don't know if it's grief. Some people would call it grief. Some people would say compliments for the analysis. But for the most part, it's Twitter or X, so it's probably grief. Because I said something, I said, in terms of what he does and for his position, the more important fingers are actually the 4th and 5th for grip. Now, for fine motor, it's index and whatever, but for grip, and he blew off part of his, index and long finger and etc. But I remember getting some grief over that. But that it is what it is. Then again, we've gone on to do things like Joey Chestnut in the hot dog eating contest, and even Red Panda.
Doc, I've noticed over the years working with you, I can send you a video. As long as it's a video, it doesn't matter what the sport is. As long as you get a clear visual, we have a say, right? And we can post it and do stuff at sixscore.com, right?
Well, the more information, the better, right?
Okay.
The more peripheral information, the better. But anyways, so Scott Fish Bowl 15 draft. This is my 5th or 6th, I forget. I think Scott Fish Bowl 10 was the first.
This is your 6th, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So 15 would be the 10th.
Yep.
And I just checked in on the draft. I drafted pretty timely, and it sped up a little bit. So the draft went, I'm 1.6 pick. Obviously, for viewers, listeners, it's PPR and tight end premium, right? Josh Allen went 1, Lamar Jackson, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamar Chase. And so left on the board at the time was Jaden Daniels, Ashton Jonty, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. And okay, applaud. I'll listen to comments here. or boo, I went Brock Bowers. And part of it is I thought that there was a tier difference between the top tight ends, a bigger tier difference between the top tight ends and the next level. And the top quarterbacks that throw and run were already gone. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. So Joe Burrow's a thrower only, and I'm sure we'll talk about his wrist. Jalen Hurts runs and throws, but doesn't throw as much as Lamar and Josh Allen. And thought there were some other choices there, whereas Brock Bowers was clearly the top tight end. Although by ADP, I guess I overdrafted him by a few, but I'm at 1-6. He wasn't coming around to the second round. So I went Brock Bowers. And then after that, my draft, which is the Padres division of Scott Fishbowl, Jaden Daniels, Ashton Junty, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. I'd say all predictable. And left now is Burrow, Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Nabers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka, and then Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think we're going to get more draft picks tonight, although it did speed up a little bit after the one speed bump.
The one thing I'll say, Doc, just for the Bowers thing, I think if you look at all rankings, they're not really Scott Fish, oriented. So it would look like you might have overreached for Bowers. But I mean, if you get 3.5 points per catch in this draft, in this season draft, I would.
But the ADP that's listed on here, not that I fully go by it, ADP that's listed on Sleeper, is that a general sleeper or Scott Fish ADP?
That's a general sleeper list from people drafting super flex and
okay. So they don't factor in that. Well, then I did a good job. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, the only way to do that, Doc, is if you go to the players and you change the listing to points. So if you do the person with the most points available, that's Scott Fish scoring. So you can look at CM's supposed to have 620 points. That's more than Genty having 600. And even though Genty's ranked higher, if that makes sense. But,
okay. I didn't even look. I didn't even look at that points category.
That's the only thing I know for sure that Scott Fish is the points, because those are accurately translated to Scott Fish scoring.
Oh, I don't. Okay. Well, there you go. Well, I learned something new. Shows what a fantasy expert that I am here. I'm looking at it now. So in that case, what was Brock Bowers last year?
Brock Bowers is supposed to be let me see here. I have it up on mine too.
How many points did he have last year? Did I do good or not good?
Let's see.
Well, see, a lot of projections all in the 30s, so that's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, he's projected to have 32 points for the year, Doc. So you should be good.
All right. All right. So can I declare my draft a success so far?
Yes, you can. It's just like you talked about.
What you do right after the draft. Our draft was successful, but you don't know till it plays out. The surgery was successful. You don't know till it plays out.
The visual is good, though. If I looked at your draft right now, Bowers number 1, solid. Just go from there.
Oh, that's good to know. I mean, his ADP was like 12, and I was at 6, and I was like, I think he's the guy. But I didn't realize the ADP was sleeper in general and not Scott Fish scoring.
He's supposed to have 576 points, Doc, projected. So I mean, that's one of the top ones. That's more than Malik Nabers and St. Brown. So
well, yeah, well, he was a little ahead of them, I think, but it's all good. We'll see what happens.
I do want to promote real quick, Doc, before we jump into stuff. The injury guide is coming soon. We're constantly making sure those insights are good so you can use this.
Now I heard a rumor that you actually and the staff has it ready, the almost 100-page season injury guide coming into the season. But some of the guys in the room this morning were saying that perhaps you didn't want to release it until your Scott Fish draft was done.
Yes, I don't want anybody to have the information we have until after. No, we're just constantly making sure. Doc, you said 100 pages, also 300 plus players. So we're just, chugging along, make sure it will be released in I would say less than 2 weeks, Doc. So we'll have it at sixscore.com.
And I saw Warren has his book out. Warren Sharp has his book out or soon to be out.
The digital version, I pre-ordered that, so I am currently reading that now. But the actual
cool.
hard
Well,
copy.
yeah, Warren's always been nice enough to send me a copy. I haven't gotten one yet. Maybe he hasn't sent them out, or
I
perhaps
haven't
I've
seen
been
a picture yet. I think
excommunicated.
I haven't seen anybody promote the picture, so I think you're okay for now.
All good, Warren.
Yeah.
Anyways, the one thing, Warren's book is a beast, and I can see why he doesn't want to go back and update it. Like, he does it, and then, to go back and say, here's a new edition, here's a trade, here's a new signing, right? And that'd be very difficult to do. But we do try and do that with our
Absolutely.
injury preview, because if there's new information, especially as camp starts, or perhaps new injuries, it is a living document. So I think when you look at it and sign up, if you give your email, they'll give you the new version digitally every time there.
And that's a big differentiator, Doc. Because I research. I buy all these books. I have Sharp's book, Fade the Noise. Their website. They have Aaron Schatz on there now, and he has all his DVOA and stuff. So we read his book. But like you said, all those books. Like, I remember Sharp. He said June 27th. He had everybody put their pens down. Right. Like, he needed to get to the printers. Right. So I think that's a key thing about ours, Doc, that you said, is that it's live. If someone like Nabers re-injures his toe in practice, we're gonna immediately update it on the preseason report, which is key, right?
Well, that's because injuries are always fluid, right? So I'll start off with the number one question. Did I not draft Joe Burrows even though his ADP was like 6 or 7 because of his wrist? And he had comments about a month ago. You can quote him more directly. He's always working on his wrist, this, that, the other. We thought he was fine for last year, and statistically, he had a heck of a year.
Yes, absolutely.
I think am I worried about Joe Burrow's wrist, and that's why I didn't draft him in Scott Fish? The answer is no. I'm not worried about Joe Burrow's wrist. Look, he already played last year and put up great numbers. So what is he talking about? Is he whining? Is this something real and he's going to regress? Look, he's talking about end range stiffness. It just doesn't feel exactly the same. And he's working on it, to his credit. I think he's being honest, but is it really going to affect him throwing the football? In that offense, we didn't see it last year. I don't think we'll see it this year. I mean, his big issue has been protection, right? And I think his wrist is fine. I get he talked about he works on it to stretch and so forth, and that's normal. He's got a major ligament repair reconstruction in his wrist, one that hasn't happened often for quarterbacks. But I'm really not that worried about Joe Burrow. I just didn't draft him because he puts up great passing numbers, but the way Scott Fishbowl scoring does, it's running. You get a lot more. Jalen Hurts is going to get 3 first downs a game and 3 extra points right there, and 7 more carries a game than Joe Burrow, and that's another 3-4 points, and et cetera. So I'm not against Joe Burrow, but just I thought at that spot there was other options, et cetera. I think Joe Burrow's wrist is fine. It's much ado about nothing. If anything, it's a moment of clarity and honesty that he's talking about it. A lot of times players will say, no, I'm fine, and whitewash it. He's just honest. Yeah, I still work on it. And is it 100%? Look, will his wrist ever be 100%? And perhaps if we're trying to make headlines and soundbite clips, Joe Burrow's wrist will never be 100%. That'd be a nice little soundbite. But the reality is, if you have a new car and it's in an accident and you get it fixed, will it ever be brand new again? No. Will it run just fine and get you where you want to go and look just fine unless you look on the undercarriage? Yes. So that's what I'm talking about for Joe Burrow. So the soundbite is his wrist will never be 100% again. True, but that doesn't mean that he won't be able to be quarterback and play football.
The big thing, I just want to do the quote, like you said, just trying to keep a rhythm, keep trying to improve the motion and make it efficient. That's what he said. That's what he's working on. So he's not working on, there's not, the pain. Like you said, it's just working through what he has available to him, right?
Continued rehab. I mean, that's fine, and getting the little squeaks out of it. But when he needs to make a throw, I don't see how it stops him from making a throw. And he shouldn't be any more prone to injury in that wrist. look, it is an unusual injury to begin with, so it's probably unusual that it could suffer the same stresses to happen again. And we're not always right, but on video and looking at it and the way that not just the injury video, because it was just a fall, but the way that as he followed through throwing the ball, that it felt like something wasn't there on the sideline. That's where we came up with scapholunate ligament tear in the wrist. Definitely what we would call a little bit of a zebra. And I think subsequent reporting showed that our injury analysis was correct with that.
I'll even go back, Doc, from our injury guide last season. You said, like you said, you weren't worried about the wrist. You were worried more about the offensive line. I remember our little quick quote we had is, what can Brown do for you? I remember it wasn't about the Cleveland Browns. It was about Orlando Brown, Trent Brown, and that whole offensive line that ended up having issues. And, that was a bigger issue than the
I think
wrist.
statistically, Joe Burrow had a really good year. I mean, he's got the offensive weapons too, but yeah, same thing. I'm not worried about Joe Burrow and his wrist.
On the next one, Doc, that you were talking about looking at when we were drafting that might have some value is CMC. He's a big one because there's 3 out of the past 5 years. You said shush. I see you froze in the middle of doing that. I saw that.
No, I'm saying quiet because
yes.
I don't care. I mean, it's Scott Fishbowl. It's for fun and for charity. I like CMC. I get it. Everyone is CMC. Oh my gosh, the surprise calf/Achilles bilateral. I drafted him high last year. He cost me. I'm never going to do that again. Who does that sound like right now in terms of running backs? How often did we hear about Saquon Barkley?
Yeah.
I'm never going to draft him again. He did terribly coming off his ACL.
Yeah, the ACL and the
we told you he would not do well coming off the ACL. And we said the next year he's going to be all right. And he has been all right that year and this year, right? Yes. And so CMC, I don't see his injuries as recurring, and Brock Purdy still needs him. Kyle Shanahan. See, showing my age again. Kyle Shanahan uses him, and it's a PPR league. Not only is he going to get the run stuff, he's going to get 2.5 points a reception.
Yeah.
I mean, what's his average? 5, 6
catches? I would say so. Maybe 4 on a bad day. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, so it's 5. I mean, that's 12.5 extra points right there. And of those 5, there's going to be at least 2 that are first downs.
Well, Dr.
Plus the yardage and et cetera. So
I guess the big thing with him is this is 3 out of the last 5 years that he has season ending, and he hasn't completed the whole year. He had 8 games last year. But you're just saying, though, because I remember we've had this conversation before, podcast years, when it was the same situation. It was the year after he got injured on Carolina. And it was like, oh, is he going to be the same? Should I draft him? Why should I put so much, eggs in one basket if he's going to not do it as a first-round pick? But now you're also getting a value, Doc. He's not even the number 1 running back. When number 1 running back, you get scared. You're like, oh, should I do that? But, I mean, he's like the 5th or 6th running back on ADP right now. He's like you said, he's the guy there. They got rid of Jordan Mason, so now it's second-year Isaac Guerendo, who's talented. But this is CMC that he could get 80% usage, which is crazy, right? On top of the Scott Fish rules.
Well, I'm not worried about his being injury prone. And Doug, can you not post this part of the podcast until after the draft? Give me another day when I come back around.
I should have put you on the Scott Fish Podathon. You would have said all this before everybody drafted, right?
On the Scott Fish Podathon, I might have to edit now. We don't edit any comments. It's fine. It's just fantasy. I don't pretend to be a fantasy expert. People like on my chat, I love engaging with the fans. And I kind of like the idea that it's the Padres, so there's mostly from San Diego, although I'm surprised how many aren't. They're just Padre fans. We're talking about a meetup already and this, that, the other. But I'm surprised that people are so kind. They're like, hey, I'll set my queue. I'll put it on auto draft. Oh, I'm in England now, or I'm on the East Coast. I'm in a different time zone. I'll put it on auto draft. I can't put it on auto draft. If it's on auto draft, it's sort of like whatever the next ADP up, which I don't want. I don't have the time or the ability to go through like Evan Silva does and rank
Or
every
list.
single player in
Right.
my mind in terms of what it is. Like,
Yep.
like you and I talk about the draft picks. I might look at what might be available in 1 or 2 rounds. Like, what do they say? An expert chess player thinks 8 moves in advance or something. Okay, I can't think 8 rounds in advance. I might get 1 or 2 rounds in advance, right? Like, hey, if I don't get this quarterback, will this quarterback still be there in the next round? We'll do that. I can do that, but I can't do that in advance. But I can't figure out. I have no idea who I'm taking in the second round right now because I have no idea who might be there. And you say, okay, well, rank all your people. Well, I mean, that's a lot of work. I can't do it. I got to look at it on the fly.
You do a lot of more poker, I would say, if you want to compare a sport. You do more like you want to know your opponent and you want to know what they have. Like we go through everybody's team, like, oh, he has 4 quarterbacks, so there's no way he's taking a quarterback next. You know what I mean? So knowing what people
this year, there's less strategy for me because at the 6th pick, I'm in the middle. So there's no like, okay, we'll survive a short term when we survive a long term. Every turn is about the same for me. So in some ways, it's kind of boring this year because there's no prediction turn. Like, oh, we're gonna make this long turn, or look, we're gonna boom the short term. The next 6 draft picks we'll get it. Who's gonna be there? It's all kind of mid-range projections, but all good.
Next one I had, Doc. We talked about him in years past. Is J.K. Dobbins. He's had the Achilles tear week 1 of 2023 last year, and then the year past he had the knee injury. Last year he had 4 weeks of the MCL sprain. He's not on Chargers anymore. He had a decent year before. We were probably wrong about him if you would grade us, right, how Dobbins did on the Chargers. Now he's on the Broncos now. Do you see him after the MCL sprain? Is that still like he's not going to be able to have a continuous year of no injuries, or is this all stuff behind him?
I'm not worried about the MCL sprain in J.K. Dobbins. How old is he now?
I want to say 27. Let me get that exact.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, he's very young. He's young.
He's still relatively young.
26. 26. Sorry, go on.
I mean, was he super expensive?
No, they just signed him recently. He's a guy that could potentially be the number 1 in Denver. He's the number 2 right now. They have a rookie.
Okay, so why did the Chargers let him go?
I think they put a lot of money into Najee Harris. But it's interesting. It was a 1-year contract. Maybe they just didn't want to bring him back. It wasn't a 2 or 3. So that's interesting. No, I don't think like you said, I don't think he did anything wrong last year. Like he had a good year.
No, I think for the games he played better than I would have thought.
Right.
Now, is that J.K. Dobbins or is that Jim Harbaugh's offensive line? And Greg, his OC, I'm blanking on his name. Greg Roman. And his run scheme, right? I would argue it might have been Greg Roman in the run scheme and Jim Harbaugh in the offensive line that he assembled.
All the above.
And there's a reason. Look, teams aren't dumb. Teams make mistakes, but teams don't make stupid moves without reason. There are moves that turn out to be bad, no question.
Right.
There's a number of them. But you got to see J.K. Dobbins for an entire season. He didn't come he wasn't that expensive.
He was not expensive.
Now, unless he said, you got Najee Harris, I don't want to come back here, which is possible. Right. But then again, you would ask the question, why did you go get Najee Harris? And I forget how expensive Najee was.
You're saying there's maybe something in the back end that they know something like, oh, maybe J.K. Dobbins' long-term success isn't a good thing. Maybe
there's some reasoning there that they viewed him as expendable, replaceable. And there's a reason why, although we just had a trade, not quite player for player, but Jalen Ramsey, Minka Fitzpatrick.
Jonnu Smith trade, yeah.
Jonnu Smith, not quite player for player, but player for player trades don't happen very often. It's typically player for draft picks, partly because GMs don't want to be compared like that, partly because, if you're trading player for player that's both good, it's hard to get a match because GMs don't want to give up players that they like.
What about the contracts too? Like, don't they want to like kind of match the contract some way too when they're doing player for player? Or is
That's what made it complicated. I mean, if we went through the history, and I'm not a historian, but you know more than me, name the top few player for player trades in the NFL. There aren't that many. In the NBA, you can name a ton of them, right?
Clinton Portis. I was researching this before
Clinton
Portis for Champ Bailey in 2004.
Yes.
And I'll say,
and how long? How many years ago was that? 15.
And that worked for both teams. That one's one rare one.
How many years ago was that? 15 years.
That is 2004. So
longer.
21 years. Yes.
We had to go back 21 years for a big time player for player trade.
Well, I got another one. I'm going to have a list. Matt Stafford for Goff, 2021.
Yes, that's a big one.
And then
Same
Ramsey
position
Fitzpatrick.
swap, and it's worked out for both teams. Yes.
So Ramsey Fitzpatrick was actually that was the original one. That was in 2005. They did the original swap, Miami and wherever Ramsey was, the Rams. So that was a big one too. And then LaShawn McCoy,
2005. No, not 2005.
No, that's 2005. They've been traded twice, Doc, for each other. Fitzpatrick and Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey wasn't in the NFL in 2005.
2005 is what I'm saying here. I think it's 2015. I forgot a one. I agree with you completely. And then one last one. I was going to say, you're right. He wasn't in 2005. DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson in 2020. So big wide receiver for running back. But like you said, those are the top 5, and those are probably, that's it. Those are the big ones.
So top 5 in the last 21 years. I'll bet you if we looked at the NBA, you'd have 5 player for player trades in the last 21 days.
In a day. I mean, maybe in the last couple of days because of the whole, the free agency and everything.
Whatever.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. All right, Doc, I'm just going to sidetrack a little bit. One more real quick. I want your thoughts on JJ McCarthy. He had the meniscus repair, missed the entire rookie season. A lot of it was just to make sure he was fully. From a draft standpoint, are you worried about drafting him? Because I think that was one of the questions too. We were looking at Justin Jefferson. Your thoughts on JJ McCarthy, how he was going to return from that knee injury. You're smiling right now. I don't know why.
Okay. I'll give you my thoughts. Everyone wants from an injury perspective. From an injury perspective, I'm not that worried about JJ McCarthy. They've taken the time. It's been essentially a year. Can meniscuses re-tear? They can. But remember, he's not a DB. He's not a running back. He's a quarterback. Yes, he can get hit, but the meniscus injuries are more running, twisting injuries, less exposure for a quarterback. So from an injury perspective, is he at a higher risk for meniscus tear or meniscus re-tear having had the repair? Somewhat, but it's mitigated lower by his position, and it's mitigated lower by the fact that they did not rush him back. We talked about Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey outperformed his meniscus repair, returning in 3 months or so, outperformed expectations. They didn't do that with JJ McCarthy. They took their time. So the injury is somewhat worrisome, but the way they took their time makes it less so. I love Kevin O'Connell. I think he's awesome. And maybe he can make a difference. But I don't know. I mean, the game in college is so different than the game in the NFL. What makes anyone think that he can be successful? He's a high pick, but not, top 3 picks in the NFL at quarterback. How many of them work out? Top 5 picks in the NFL. How many of them work out? 50%?
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy is a top, correct me if I'm wrong, top 10 pick, but not top 5.
Right.
I mean, there's no guarantee that he's going to work out. I mean, it's kind of a coin flip. Now, everyone says great things about him, but how are you going to not say great things about your top draft pick? And he's in a great system. And Kevin O'Connell, awesome. Aztec. I know, Taylor. I got a lot of faith that if someone can develop him, if he made Sam Darnold good, he can make JJ McCarthy good. But you never know. Now, what's interesting is I hear all the intangibles about JJ McCarthy, how good he is in Michigan and this, that, the other. And Jim Harbaugh did him a solid by promoting him.
Right.
How tall is he?
6'3".
He is? I thought he was a little less than that. Okay. So his height's okay. And I don't know. I just didn't see him. He ran. I mean, it was a primarily running offense at Michigan. I don't know.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because he wasn't like a for sure prospect. He wasn't like, this guy's like, even over the injury, he's ready to go. Like he was like, they picked him because they liked him more. I don't like.
Well, look, like I said, I got confidence in Kevin O'Connell. So maybe he saw something and the GM saw something. And I think, if anything, JJ McCarthy owes. Look, if he paid his agent 3%, he should give another 3% to Jim Harbaugh. That elevated his stock. All those comments.
No, I remember too, Doc. It was just like he only threw like you said, it was a run heavy offense, so he threw like 5 to 12 times a game. So it was hard to see it through scouts and stuff. But I mean, like you said,
maybe it's there. I mean, I'm one who didn't necessarily recognize Patrick Mahomes in Texas Tech. Okay, so I'm not saying I'm a be all know all of this, but I'm just saying. That's why I would have worries about Justin Jefferson that high up.
I just think we're going to see a lot of his development in the NFL, which is like you said.
And he's still what? Is he a second-year player?
Well, he's considered because he missed a full year. Yeah,
he's a rookie. He hasn't taken any snaps.
Yeah,
it's
you're right.
His second year, and maybe the education and clipboard and sideline process helps him, which is real.
The action is
real, but. The game is a lot faster than you think. Like I going back to surgeries, I remember when, even for me, I'd be doing a surgery and it wouldn't be my patient, but it would be the attending would be there or, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's good. Let's just do this. This is the right thing. And I'd be very decisive and quick.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I was working at the VA, when I was the chief and the ultimate responsibility went to me and the junior residents were saying, well, let's just, let's think about it for a second. Let's, the decision-making and the pressures, in the moment and speed are different when like it's easy as the backup quarterback to say, oh, it's covered 2. Where's my tight end? Right. But when, who's the mic and this, that, the other, and getting the formations right and snap count and calling the audibles and whatever and identifying the Mike linebacker. There's a lot that goes into it very, very quickly. And you've been there before, Taylor. You're like 95% of the world couldn't repeat the play call when it's heard. You've seen John Gruden, our buddy, in quarterback. I can't even, say it, come up with a fake play call. You can't repeat it, much less understand it, right? Unless you're speaking the lingo. It's a foreign language.
I just always remember he was just bringing up Gruden. He was making fun of the quarterbacks because the way they do snap counts in college now, they do the clapping, and he freaking hates that. He thinks it's so like juvenile. He even did a post. He's like, "Stop the clapping," because that's all they even Jackson Dart. He had him in his, he does the QB camp, and he's like, "Show me your snap counter." What are you doing? He's just like, what? He's like, what is? He's like, what is that? It's like so foreign to him. It's so good to see.
Well, it's good if your quarterback has laryngitis.
Yes, that's true. Yes. Next one, Doc. I want to go to the baseball quick. First start in a year for Yu Darvish. He's had multiple injuries. What are you expecting today? I know Schild already said 4 to 5 innings, 75 pitches. Is that accurate, or is this someone? He's a veteran. He could probably jump in and do 5 if they see him doing okay.
Well, that's an answer in a vacuum, right? I mean, if he's at 60 pitches, he'll go out for his 5th inning, right? If he's at 80 pitches, there's no way he's going out, for his fifth inning, right? I mean, and what part of the order and how many times through the lineup and I know the Padres are a little short on bullpen depth. You know, I saw Yu Darvish on Thursday, and I tried to ask him how many innings he would pitch and what pitches he would do and how deep he would go and how he's feeling when I saw him. But my Japanese is not that good, so I didn't get anywhere. No, I'm just joking. I did see him and his
I
wife
listened way too much. I thought you were going to say something there too, because you did see him. You were at the dinner.
I did, you know, dinner on the diamond, and
yeah,
I did look. I would like. There are some baseball people that I know over time, right? I mean, Rick Sutcliffe was there. I remember Rick Sutcliffe from Cubs days. He was a Padre broadcaster. I know him fairly well. You know, Tony Gwynn Jr. and you know, Bob Scanlon and Trevor Hoffman and da 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 da. Those are guys that I might know. I don't know, you know, some of these younger guys personally per se, although Yu's a list older, but I mean, I just in language, I don't really know him. I'm not going up to you and give him a hard time. My son and his best friend were obviously, I mean, every little kid loves Jackson Merrill, right?
absolutely. Yep.
They went up to Jackson Merrill, and I did say to Jackson Merrill, I said, you do realize that you have dethroned Tatis, at least among the 12-year-old boys. I mean, the number one answer when you ask 12-year-old boys in San Diego, it's Jackson Merrill.
It is.
No longer Tatis. 2 years ago, 100%, it was all Tatis, including my son. If you asked him 2 years ago, it was Tatis. Now his favorite player is Jackson Merrill. It's not that he doesn't like Tatis. You know, they identify with a young guy coming up, et cetera. And he looked a little surprised. I think he's a nice kid. He has to know that, though, right? I mean,
he's the next one. Like, and then 2 years before that, it was Machado, right? So, like you said, every couple of years, it's like that next.
Yeah, and to that end, no, I would never ask Yu Darvish, even if there wasn't a language issue to any of those. It's a charity event. Come on now, it's not a press conference. But I will say that we've been pretty. Look, I happen to sit next to their head athletic trainer, Mark Rogo. We don't really even know each other, but we talked a little bit. I promise you, I didn't ask him a single question about Yu Darvish or Michael King, and he wouldn't answer if I did. I mean, come on, it's just not the appropriate venue. Even if it was a whatever, there's no way. That's insider information. And as I've always said, we deal in insider knowledge, not insider information. And we deal in injury analysis, not injury reporting, right? But injury reports had Michael King,
Thank you.
nothing. And what did we say early on? We said, we're lucky as a Padre fan. And if you told me back in early June, whenever it was,
or late May, early June,
late May, early June, that he's back pitching after the All-Star break, I would say take it. That's a good result. That it likely is longer than that. Now they're talking August at the earliest. And I said, Yu Darvish, even though there was no timetable for Yu Darvish comes back before Michael King. And Yu Darvish is back today. But I don't think Yu Darvish is going deep because he wants to be careful. He's had the previous ulnar collateral. It's not that he's soft, but he wants to be careful. Is he gonna throw 97 miles an hour? No, he's gonna be mid-low 90s. He's trying to locate his pitches. He's trying to be a pitcher, not a thrower. And I don't see him going beyond 75.
And he wants to finish the year out for you. He doesn't want to just like go all in and then.
And the Padres want him to finish out the year for them, right? It's mutual.
Yes. All right, next one, Doc. I had Aaron Nola. Speaking of the Padres, his brother used to be the catcher. Remember, he had that eye issue. He wasn't able to throw as well. He's actually back in the league right now. But Aaron Nola, his brother, he was on IL in May 16th. He sprained his ankle while working out from the sprained ankle. He had some tightness right here. He thought it was a strain. Ended up being a stress fracture in his right rib. I just want to ask you, because you have Chris Sale with his ribcage. He just had it recently, and now Nola's coming back from it. He just threw a bullpen session recently, but it's been a while. What is the correlation between ribcage fractures and pitching? What is the medical and what is the science, I guess?
Well,
maybe.
stress fracture is anything that's repetitive load. Bone is alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between a 2x4 beam and the tree trunk. The tree's alive. It can grow, shake, and move. If the tree gets tilted a little bit, it can grow straight. Ribs are bone is alive. But if there's more stress on it, more degradation of the bone, resorption of the bone, stress on the bone, then it can heal itself. That's when you get the stress fracture. And it's not just a fracture to heal, because there is a component of poor blood supply when that happens. It's the associated oblique muscles. I mean, to pitch, there's torso. To hit a ball, there's torso. That's what makes it tough. And, in the NFL, once a week on Sunday, rib block, let's finish the season, let's go. You can make it through. You can't make it through in baseball. I will say I think I can say this. Oh, who cares? It's fine. It's nothing. Part of my conversation with Mark Rogo, it's not classified, so I'm not breaking any secrets. He didn't tell me anything where there was a secret, but we were just talking in general, and I just say people understand that the sports are so different. I mean, in football, and we were comparing what I did versus what he does, right? That's all it was. In football, 85% is a good day. You can, red zone manage a guy, third down, this, that, the other. You can't, it's hard to do that in baseball, right? 95% is usually a no-go. Certainly for Yu Darvish, it's a no-go. And I'm not picking on you. I mean, you got to be, if you have a rib injury, and we've seen plenty of NFL players play through with a rib fracture, and it's a collision sport. And the assumption is NFL players are tougher than baseball players. Not true. Not true. The sports are different.
Right.
Really, first of all, team doctors don't typically travel on the road. I guess you could get one to go, but are you really going to rib block a player for every day or 6 out of 7 days a week just to get him through to play?
And it's a 3-game series too. Like you get the one that the doctor has to.
Oh, it wears off. It wears off in 6 hours.
Okay,
you need one every day.
Yeah, there you
right?
go. Yeah.
And this is what I told players: I'll inject you on Sunday, but no, I'm not. And I even told coaches I'm not injecting him on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to practice. You just got to get through practice and do a little less or do something different. Now, the only time that I have injected someone for practice is when they have said, okay, but I don't know if I can play with this.
And that's what I'm going to ask. You need to see first before with it.
So I might do it one time to say, okay, that you can play with this. Like we've talked about here, I've injected Phillip Rivers. Phillip actually texted me the other day. He's going to Gates's Hall of Fame induction.
Oh, awesome.
But anyways, he's given me permission to talk about it. Maybe the first time there was an issue of how he would feel, but the dozens of times afterwards, I need one of those. Let's go. I mean, we've done it in game too. Let's not worry about an X-ray. It hurts right here. Just block it. We'll deal with it afterwards if it's broken, kind of thing. So, but you can't do that in baseball.
Not at all.
And like I said, team physicians, I got asked again the other day. I haven't got asked this question in a while. As a team physician, did you travel? I'm like, it's the same game on the road as it is at home. If they don't need you on the road, they don't really need you at home, right? And that's what I enjoyed about the NFL. The NFL will typically travel a minimum of 3 physicians. That's how busy it is. Major League Baseball teams do not travel doctors until the playoffs. Then they may travel 1. That's the norm.
And like you said, if they're hurt, more often than not, you got a bench player that comes in, he sits the 3 games, right, or whatever he has.
Well, yeah, it's a long season. It's this, that, the other, and we've talked about it here before. An NFL game, Okay. I hate this math with 17 games, but let's just go back to 16. Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
162 games in baseball, 16 in football. Look, missing one game is like missing 16 baseball games, right? It's a 10, 10 baseball games. Missing one game is like missing 10 baseball games. It's 10-1. It's like missing a game is missing one drive
Mhm.
offensively or defensively,
Right.
right? And NFL players routinely miss a drive as they're getting evaluated, this, that, the other. But it's just not as noticeable when that happens because they come back into the game. So it's just different. And I had a fun talk with Mark Rogo about that.
Oh, that's good. Just a real quick, Doc. We continually talk about the Dodgers pitchers. I just want to go real quick. Ohtani's still at his 2 innings, but I mean, they're saying his pitches are looking good. So I mean, he's gradually getting there. But
Ohtani is still on his rehab assignments. He's not actually pitching in the major leagues like Yu Darvish is pitching in the major
right,
leagues. People
yes,
say, "Oh, you're crazy. He started how many games now?" No, he's doing his rehab in the major leagues
yep,
on the fly because they want him to DH.
yes,
So they can't send him down to AAA to do a rehab assignment and miss his ABs. So they'd say, okay, you AB, but just 1 inning here, just another 1 inning. Okay, just 2 innings. And they're doing his rehab. I don't know. I don't know. There's another example of this, right? Because there aren't any players like Shohei.
yeah.
They're doing rehab on the fly in the major leagues.
Like speaking of just his partner pitching, TylerGlasnow, he just finished his 3rd rehab start, and he will be able to start before the All-Star break, which is big for them. He's been out for almost a month with that right shoulder injury. So, but he's not a 40 home run, 40 stolen base guy. So they let him do his rehab starts in the minors, right? So I mean, and he's also pitching like 4 and 5 innings. They're giving Ohtani because it's the majors, right? He's not able to get there, so they need to do a couple more of these little 2 innings.
Even if he could get there.
Yeah.
They don't want to push it. It's
Yes.
the ramp up, right? I mean, even if Dave Roberts, I feel great after my 2 innings. I only threw, 16 pitches. Can I go another? Get out of here. Sit down. This is our plan. I mean, imagine the grief Dave Roberts would get if he tweaked something, No, this is the plan. This is what's mapped out. This is what we're going to do.
You said that about Remember Kershaw a couple years ago. He just came back and he was in the midst of a no-hitter, and everybody gave Dave Roberts crap because he took him out the second, he wanted.
No, I think it was a perfect game. It wasn't a no-hitter. It was a perfect game.
Right, yeah, or something like that. But it was like everybody was, oh my God, Dave Roberts, how could you? It was the middle of the season. Dodgers are a World Series.
I think it was the beginning of the season, even a little bit, but whatever. But yeah, they weren't going to risk that.
Yeah, they're not risking anything. Yeah, just real quick, Doc. We'll go to WNBA real quick. So Caitlin Clark, what you've talked about, she's continued to miss time. She's now missed 5 games due to her groin injury. Tell me your thoughts on what you're expecting her when she does come back, and if you're still expecting a little bit more time because they have 2 games this week as well.
I am a fan of Caitlin Clark and all of the very skillful WNBA players, which is why we actually cover them some. I am not hating on Caitlin Clark or calling her soft. I was just saying the injury reporting put her in a bad position by calling that groin a day-to-day injury. I have not met in a basketball player, especially a guard, especially a groin injury that was truly day-to-day. They're more week to week. And what we said is it's not going to be day-to-day. It's minimum 1 week. 2 weeks would be good. Now she's at 5 games. She's not wanting to play until she's 100%. She's not whatever. It's just the injury reporting was not exactly, it was a spin that now makes her not look that good. And as we discussed here before, on some occasions when I've talked to athletes about it after the fact, they actually like the fact that I've been more realistic about what it is versus what the team says. Like the Indiana Fever, I'm not saying this is why they did it, but they want to keep selling tickets for next week.
Right.
I mean, if they said Caitlin Clark's out a month,
that hurts.
I mean,
yeah.
Ticket sales are down for a while.
Yep.
I mean, and I'm not saying they're doing it for nefarious reasons, but also hope springs eternal. Day to day, in a very best case circumstance. So let's hope for day to day. And when they say day to day, I'm sure if you called them on it, they say, yeah, day 12, day 13, day 14, it's still day to day.
Yeah. We're still going day by day. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're just going day by day, that's why we said day to day.
One we had questions on, Doc, people asking about is Cameron Brink. I sent you some information on her. If you guys,
So Cameron Brink, here's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Let me grade for you. You see if you can I think you can, and this will be for people. We'll do it multiple, rank in order of ease of recovery and return to play. NFL wide receiver, NFL DB, a professional basketball player, male or female, soccer player, hockey player. Hardest to come back from, the easiest.
DB, well, NFL is the hardest, I think. Soccer, second to last. Wide receiver, third to last. I think hockey's number one, and then you put basketball second.
Number one, hardest or easiest?
Hardest or easiest? Yeah, easiest.
Okay. I'll go through my list for you.
Okay.
The hardest, I believe, is soccer.
Okay.
And I had the fortune, it's kind of a milestone moment for me. I put it on Twitter Live. It was an invite for my son. It wasn't me, but I brought him to the SDFC soccer game. And it's actually the first time I made a return to the site of the old Qualcomm to see my little one twirl a baton for the Aztecs. But I don't know. I think I'm still an angry old man a little bit on the Chargers leaving town and Qualcomm not being there. So I've had a unofficial, I've never said I'm never going. I wasn't going out of my way to go to Snapdragon Stadium. But this time I went, my son's invite. I was the tag along. He sat literally with his feet on the grass. I don't know if you saw the video, but actually technically his feet were on the AstroTurf because it's AstroTurf for a few feet and then grass on the sideline. But in any case, I guess I forget. I always try to explain to people how you don't understand how fast these NFL linemen are. Like all NFL players. Like I remember covering a high school football game. And the high school football games don't have 2-yard wide white stripes, right? I mean, you're standing in the NFL white on the edge of the sideline. And a play would be coming our way. And admittedly, I was, a decade or more younger, but here comes the whole rush of people. And I never moved. And I kind of looked around and people are like, you never move. And I looked around, everyone's scattered because the play was coming. But to me, no offense to the high schoolers, that was so slow that I didn't have to worry about moving.
He wasn't Polamalu either. It wasn't Troy Polamalu either.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But my point is, anything, I forget. I mean, MLS is not Premier League. I get it. But oh my gosh, the quickness, the speed, the cutting on offense and defense.
Yes, both. Yeah, both.
And open field, big areas. Soccer's number one hardest.
Okay.
Number two, I would say maybe basketball, because you have to play offense and defense. Look at Derrick Rose. Cameron Brink's getting grief. It's been a year. Where are you? Offense and defense. Unscripted plays. More continuous flow. Although the court's a lot smaller, less open field stuff.
And she's and Cameron Brink's asked to do stuff on both ends too. It's not just I'm a center, I'm just rebounding. She's a 10 and 10 person, so that makes sense. Go on, sorry. Yeah.
And then third hardest would be DB. Now, DB doesn't know where he's going at the snap of the ball, but then again, he's just got to be there for 4 or 5 seconds, and then regather himself.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, much easier. Why? Because you know where you're going at the snap of the ball.
Yeah.
Whereas the DB has to react.
Mhm.
Hockey is the easiest. It's not an ACL dependent sport. It's not impossible to play hockey some with a torn ACL because it's a crouch knee gait and it's different. It's
Hip.
not a completely ACL dependent sport.
Hip is the worst injury for hockey. I think you've told me that. Is that correct?
Hip and groin, yes. Opening up, yes, sure.
Okay.
But
Go on.
ACL,
Not so much.
of those 5, easiest.
Yeah.
So easiest hockey, next easiest NFL wide receiver, next DB, WNBA or NBA basketball, next hardest going up scale, hardest is soccer, in my opinion.
So just a perfect lead-in, Doc. So this weekend, I gave you, like we talked about, hot dog stuff. I try to throw you every sport. I was watching the Bayern Munich PSG game. They're doing the Club World Championship right now. And one of the top young players in the world, Jamal Musiala, suffered a leg injury. Tell me what you saw by the video I sent you.
Left ankle fracture dislocation. I get it. The German report said fibula fracture and ligament damage. We're talking the exact same thing. If I could tell you every time someone said, "Oh yeah, yes, you have a fracture." Oh, good. At least it's not broken. Oh, okay.
You're like, oh.
Same words, different things.
Yeah.
So the ankle is fractured, and the distal fibula is part of the ankle bone. And the dislocation happens because of the syndesmotic ligaments are torn. So if you're really being specific, it is the syndesmotic ligaments and likely the deltoid ligament being torn with the distal fibula broken. But that to me is an ankle fracture dislocation. I don't think you want me to tweet distal fibula fracture with syndesmotic ligament. But it's funny how some people say, does this fit with what you're saying? Some people said, oh, you're wrong. It was an ankle fracture dislocation.
Say ligament or exactly. Yeah.
It's, whatever. It's fine. I mean, is that guy a halfback or running back,
But what I was gonna say, you said you compared it to a Dak Prescott. We obviously didn't see
ankle fracture dislocation. I saw the reports. They said 5 months. That sounds optimistic to me.
Okay.
I think it's 9 months plus minus.
All right, and he's like under 23, so I mean, youth doesn't matter. He just it doesn't matter.
In 5 months, in 3 months, he can outrun me.
Well, I'll let you know, Doc. In 5
months, he can outrun and play most humans.
The
For him to return to his level, I think it's closer to 9.
So the season's not over. Season's over in 9 months because this is the beginning. You'll have like the preseason in August, and then they'll go all the way to March. So March, he probably still isn't back by then, right? Or is this like a full season injury, or maybe back before? Now I'm playing games with you now. I'm trying to find the exact month.
Well,
but I think they say 5 months, Doc, because they don't want to rule him out for the season. Maybe if that's like.
I think that's part of it.
Okay, yeah,
I think that's part of it.
Yeah,
keep hope alive.
Yes, because I think the season hasn't even started yet, so you want to go into the new season all set, your players out.
I'm not trying to say we know all, and I'm not trying to say teams are liars and just bad people. There's reasons that numbers come up.
Right.
I mean, that 5 month number, look, if the team would have asked, if I were the team doctor at Bayern Munich and they said, what's the earliest you could see him back? 5 months. Probably not unreasonable. Right?
So we're gonna take
they say, well, we hope 5 months. Boom.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to go with, right?
Run with it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, and that was also part of the discussion I had with Mark Rogo without him saying anything. It's like, look, I said you're not going to say anything, anyways, but you guys know what's happening with Michael King. Just how it's reported is different.
Mm-hmm.
And he
just shakes his head like, all right, like, yeah.
He didn't say anything, but he did. That's just the way that it is. And I've been on the other side.
All right. Doc,
anything else we got here?
All I got for you, I was going to say real quick, this episode was powered by Sick Picks, injury-driven analysis and algorithms. You can find them at sickscore.com/picks to sign up. Any last words, Doc? Or just make sure you
I'm checking the sleeper. Let's see if we're drafting again anywhere soon.
Oh, real quick, we had a question, Doc. I didn't get the answer. We have done it on multiple podcasts, though, so I want to direct them there, but I want to get real quick your thoughts on Malik Nabers. You're still down on his toe going into training camp, correct? We had a question from Twitter.
In the ADP at sleeper, he's 14.6. I'm going to be drafting at, let's see, I'm number 6, do the math. So I'm at like 19. Suffice it to say, if he's there, I'm not taking him.
I had a game for you. I missed it, but I was going to do an ADP game. But I was going to tell you, would you draft Malik Nabers or Nico Collins right now? You would probably lean Nico Collins, correct?
Nico Collins.
Yeah, Nico Collins is below him in ADP. So if you are looking for stuff like that, there are people below Nabers.
Well, that's just me. So, you know.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I mean,
and I haven't decided yet. In the first 3 years of Scott Fishbowl, I drafted to not be embarrassed and win games in my league. Okay. It's like coaching or drafting to win your division versus coaching / drafting to win the Super Bowl.
You're Marty Schottenheimer, like you said.
Look, I love Marty. I love Brian Schottenheimer. I hope he does well. So that I don't want that to come off as negative. My point is, the first 3 years, I won some Scott Fish Bowls in the division and was bounced early in the playoffs. Even had a bye 1 year. And last year was no bueno. And the year because I started saying, I don't want to just win the division. I want to go somewhere in the Scott Fish Bowl draft. So there's some more boom bust guys that I've been picking, and there's been more bust than boom. So we'll see what happens. So I've proven that I guess I'm not an embarrassment at fantasy football. To win the division is not an embarrassment.
You're a division
now I'm like, I don't care about that. I want to try and draft
to the top. Yeah.
Thus,
you had CC last year.
Brock Bowers early.
We both have him. So if he gets hurt, we're both done. So we're both tied to him now.
All right. Thanks for watching Pro Football Doc Sports Industry Central podcast.
Real quick, Doc. Sorry. The Musiala, someone asked, big soccer people. So the World Cup is 11 months away. So for Germany, they're going to be there. Is he going to be able to perform and be there, or is he going to miss so much of the initial, lead up that they might leave him off the squad?
I'd say, well, that's a German selection decision,
and
right?
He's a big part of their team. So, I mean, if
you tell me he is a key top player on the team, then I would say projecting forward, he'll be there for Germany. Okay. If you told me they've got other, I don't even know what position he plays, they've got other strikers or forwards and this, that, the other, then it may be a different story. It goes back to JPP. Are you JPP or the random DB? If you're JPP, they're going to find a spot for you.
Yeah. No, I get you.
And so based on what everyone's saying about this young kid, I think he'll be there in 11 months. Yes.
Okay. That's the last question. Sorry. That's all we have. Yeah.
All good. All right. Thanks for watching live, and we'll see you next week. And we've got some changes to the podcast this season that'll become more timely. We'll announce that as it comes. And I think you've got lined up a good top baseball guest next week, hopefully.
Yes.
We'll start promoting that. I'll give you the topic, and people can start thinking about this. We often talk about the Mount Rushmores. Who are the Mount Rushmores of the NBA, let's say? So you got to say Michael Jordan, right? Then is it LeBron? Probably. Who else? I mean,
Chamberlain, right?
What's that? Chamberlain. Or is it Bill Russell or whatever, right? You talk Mount Rushmores, right? It's hard to say. Mount Rushmore of home run hitters. You'd have to say Babe Ruth. You'd have to say Hank Aaron.
Bonds.
I mean, Bonds. I mean, some steroid haters would say no, but right, you got to
really you're right. Yeah.
This podcast guest will talk about what I call the Mount Rushmore of injuries or famous injuries in big games, and that'll be a tease. We've already talked about, I think, one of them with Dr. Heffernan, our guy at Sports Injury Central, the former Chicago Bulls head team position, the Michael Jordan flu game.
Yes,
that probably makes the Mount Rushmore. Is it Willis Reed? Is it that? Is it Terrell Owens playing in that Super Bowl? Maybe. Bill Belichick thinks it is from our podcast. But we've got another one for you. That's the hint and the tease that we think belongs on the Mount Rushmore of injury / medical issues in big games?
I was going to say something about Jordan, but I'll save it for the podcast.
What, you're named after him?
He wasn't sick, but yeah, he was hungover.
He wasn't sick.
He was hungover.
You could rewind that podcast.
Yeah,
Let's put it this way. I think what Dr. Heffernan says is akin to what Bill Belichick said. There's a lot that could be said without saying it, right?
He confirmed it for me when I watched it. So
there's a lot that can be said without saying it. That's all I'm going to say. So that's but all good. I don't think it hurts his legacy any. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
He did fine. They won that game, remember? So all good. All right, thanks for watching and listening. We'll chat again soon.